I back myself. I am my own man. I can't be bought by anyone.
You're looking at the most abundant fuel in our country. You're looking at an American resource that will help us toward vital energy security into the next century. But most of all, you're looking at 50% of our electricity. Coal.
Australia must aspire to be a world leader in clean coal technology.
For a major coal producer like Australia, finding ways to reduce carbon emissions from coal is a clear priority.
Australia is the world's largest exporter of coal. We've invested $590 million since 2009 in clean coal technology research and demonstration, and yet we do not have one modern, high-efficiency, low-emissions coal-fired power station, let alone one with carbon capture and storage. As the world's largest coal exporter, we have a vested interest in showing that we can provide both lower emissions and reliable baseload power with state-of-the-art, clean coal-fired technology.
There's still no sign of carbon capture and storage.
It's dirty, it's expensive, and it's unnecessary.
Clean coal is a fairy tale. Clean coal doesn't exist. There's no country in the world that's going to be making a 50-year investment decision to produce a new coal-fired power station. It's just not even feasible, and it's not realistic.
What started off as a $2 billion project has more than tripled in price due to construction mishaps and poor planning. It's the most expensive power plant per megawatt of electricity generated ever built.
An institute was created to develop technology that would capture and store carbon from power plants. The government committed $315 million to the Global CCS Institute, but as Michael Aitken reports, its critics argue it has failed to attract major investment from its global members, and the money it has spent has achieved little.
Environmental activists call clean coal an oxymoron, since it's not quite the anti-pollution miracle that coal companies make it out to be. The problem is that these methods are incredibly expensive and energy intensive, and that money and energy has to come from somewhere.
If they can get the costs down, you're going to see companies and governments across the world looking at this technology, but that's yet to be seen.
Is clean coal a myth? How much percent is the emission less if there's a percentage to it?
The CO2 emission is less by approximately 3.8%.
It is very untried at the scale that we are talking about. And even if it could be done, it would take 30, 40, 50 years to properly develop this technology at a tremendous cost. That cost is the distraction of where the money can and should be spent in renewable energies that aren't going to release any carbon into the atmosphere or underground.
Environment Minister Greg Hunt says Australia will soon be able to generate electricity from coal-fired power stations with just half the current emissions.
This tiny pilot is far from the real deal, capturing less than 1% of Loy Yang's emissions. And it hasn't even begun tackling how to store the carbon dioxide underground.
As it stands, the CSIRO's research is not ready to be implemented commercially, which makes Mr Hunt's claim that emerging technology will be available to clean up coal-fired power within 3 to 5 years highly ambitious. That's a fact check.
It's risky to put so much emphasis on unproven technology.
There are other ways that are even greater, even better, and even more feasible. You know, Chris, I'll never forget doing my research about clean coal, and I found an ad in 1895 in the Chicago Tribune, 1895, about smoke-free clean coal. So for the past 120 years, we've been trotting out this slogan of clean coal, really in denial of the incredible impact the coal industry's had on coal miners and communities that live nearby, and now on our own climate.
Look, there's no real permanent solution to CO2 problems, except, maybe venting it into space somehow, or simply stopping the release of so much carbon.
In principle, carbon capture and storage could reduce emissions by 80 to 90%. So in principle, it could be quite a useful tool for tackling climate change. The trouble is, it's a long way off.
All 3 American projects have now been scrapped or placed on hold.
I used to be a coal miner, but now I'm a full-grown coal adult.
We're not out there trying to, save the planet by ourselves, because you can't. When people talk about 50% renewable energy targets, you're just making people incredibly vulnerable. We've got ACTs talking about 100%. Well, that's just garbage.